Hello and welcome to MakeMeStatic. Today I'm going to show you how to convert your WordPress site into a WordPress site with a statically published front end. This video is aimed at sites that typically behave as public websites and do not need visitors to log in. I'm going to start with a brief intro. If you just want the technical walkthrough, feel free to skip ahead. So, why a static front end? Let's start with speed. WordPress sites can typically only deliver a few pages per second, which makes them relatively slow at the best of times and sometimes painfully slow under load. It is possible to partially mitigate this with various forms of caching, but this is technically difficult and error prone. Static hosting platforms typically deliver hundreds or even thousands of pages per second and don't need much of the optimization and maintenance typically associated with a WordPress site. So, static hosting is much faster and getting that speed doesn't require the same level of effort. Next we have resilience. Every WordPress site is generated from a number of constituent parts, which typically involve many database queries. If there's a problem with any of those parts, whether it be a slow database, misbehaving plugin, memory shortage, or even a lack of disk space, requests can be slow, fail, or be corrupted. Static sites, on the other hand, don't suffer the same fate. Staging. When you make a change to your WordPress site, that change will be visible to site visitors. If your change breaks the site, that breakage is also visible. This is not necessarily the behavior you want. As a result, it may be tempting to run two copies of a site in order to experiment before making changes live. That said, running multiple copies of WordPress isn't always what you want either. MakeMeStatic only publishes updates to your static copy when you ask it to, which provides an implicit staging function without having to have a second copy of WordPress. In addition, the plugin can publish to multiple targets, so you can even run a test instance of your static copy before updating your live static copy. Web stats. One of the features of our built-in hosting platform is live web stats. These are based on server-side logs and do not need JavaScript or anything embedded within your pages. Updates to the display are processed live, so you can literally watch people accessing the site. Search. The faster the site is, the fewer errors and interruptions it experiences, typically the better it's going to rank. DDoS. With a dynamic site, it's usually relatively easy for abusers with botnets to suppress a site simply by overloading it, even if that site uses caching. With a static site, especially if you leverage third-party reverse proxies like Cloudflare, DDoSing a site is almost impossible. Portability. WordPress instances are notoriously difficult to move between providers, which is not a problem if you're not intending to move. But if on the other hand at some point in the future you do find you want to move, or indeed need to move, for whatever reason, with MakeMeStatic it's simply a case of choosing a new deployment target and clicking on Synchronize. Cost. The busier a site is, the more computing power it needs. The more computing power it needs, the larger the hosting bill. If the only users of a WordPress site are the maintainers, typically you can get away with an entry-level hosting service. In fact, you can even host the site in your own office for free and make it available to the internet via a tunnel. The example I'm going to cover shortly involves a site hosted in my office but made visible to the internet via a free Cloudflare tunnel. So, for the walkthrough, I'm going to start with a WordPress site at demo.squizzy.com. Step 1 will be to create a static copy of the WordPress instance. Step 2 is to change the WordPress instance to work on a new URL, in this case demo-backend.squizzy.com, and step 3 is to point our live domain name at our new static copy. Depending on the hosting provider, it may take a little while for caches and DNS updates to catch up, but at this point demo.squizzy.com should be pointing at the static copy, and the original WordPress instance should still be available at demo-backend.squizzy.com. So without further ado, on to the demo. I'm starting with a new WordPress instance visible on the internet as demo.squizzy.com, and just to make it a little more realistic, I've loaded in a copy of the MakeMeStatic.com website. The first thing I'm going to do is head over to plugins and install the MakeMeStatic plugin. Install now and activate. I have a new option down here. So as this is the first run through, it's going to ask me to accept the terms and conditions. So agree to that and accept. And again, because there's no profile, it's going to run through the setup wizard, which is mostly instructions. The only thing I need to do is put in a profile name. So I'm just going to use test, and I'll run that through to the end. And it's left us with our first default profile setup. So to generate a static copy, all I have to do is click on synchronize and sync. So this takes about 90 seconds for this site to run through. It's going to count through the number of items it scans here. We've got a timer running here. This progress indicator is giving us an estimate of how far through it thinks we are so far. And that's telling us we're locked on the crawls in progress. So I'm just going to scan ahead a little bit. So getting towards the end now. This is synchronizing the Git copy that it has. And once it's finished its merge, it'll start the deployment phase, which it has now. So this is deploying its Git copy to a Pages server, and it's done. So if I click on test now, this is our first static copy, and if you look here you can see it's generated a unique URL for us. And if I pan down towards the end, you can see that it's tacked on a watermark, there you go, to show that it's not the original site. So if I go back to the settings again, the next thing I want to do is remove that watermark. So I'm going to validate my email address to start off with. Click on subscription. And send. So I give that a second to come through. Typically it will take between about 10 and 15 seconds to appear. And once it does, I need to click on the link, and that will make this box disappear, which it has. So if I go across to my other screen and click on the link, that's activated it. You can see we're now on the free subscription. I'll close this down. And if I now go into the profile settings, turn off the watermark and click on confirm and do a synchronize again, this will go through and compare all the pages that have changed, which will be all the pages, and remove the watermark from the bottom of each one and publish a new copy of each page. I'm going to skip ahead just again. Okay, so it's going to the end of the second run now. It looked like it changed about 15 files there. It'll tell us in a second. Okay, 11 files were changed. So if I go and look at the copy again now, with a bit of luck it will have taken the watermark off the end, which it hasn't because my browser has cached it. So I'll just refresh the cache and it's gone. So all the pages should now be watermark free. I'll just try this one as well. Yep, no watermark. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is to get this site running on its secondary URL, which is going to be demo-backend.squizzy.com. So if I just look at my DNS records for a second, I already have a CNAME pointing to the same place as demo, which means I should be able to go into demo-backend.squizzy.com, which I can, but there's a redirect in there, so it's gone straight back to demo. So if I go back to dashboard and settings and change my URL to demo-backend and click Save Settings. So that's now redirected me back to demo-backend and asking me to log in again because the site URL has changed. Log back in. So I've now redirected my original WordPress instance to demo-backend.squizzy.com. Little glitch there because it's updating its DNS records and its caches. If you're not using Cloudflare, it might take a little bit longer, but that process should work. Now that the mail address has been changed, I also need to change the contents of the database. So I'm going to need a plugin to change the site URL, and there's a whole bunch of plugins that will do it. I'm going to use this one because it's easy and I've used it before. And all I need to do is to go into Tools, Easy Update URLs, and Update. And I'm going from demo.squizzy.com to demo-backend.squizzy.com, and I probably want to update everything, and that should just go through the database and update. There we go. Update out any references to demo and replace it with demo-backend. So just to make sure I'm still working. Yeah, it looks happy for the moment. So the next trick is to repoint the domain name, i.e. demo.squizzy.com, at the new live static copy. So going back into the plugin again, if we have a look at the, get rid of that, have a look at the profile. I need to put in my domain name here, which is going to be demo.squizzy.com. I need to verify this before we go any further. So I need to take the text record there. I need to go into my DNS setup. I need to add that text record. So just a txt. Demo is my host name, and that's the value it gave me on the dashboard. Save that away. Okay, and the other thing I need to do is to take the CNAME record. Now, this is currently running on the end of a tunnel, so I'm going to take out the old CNAME record by doing that. I'll go back to my DNS settings. If I just refresh that, the old CNAME for demo is gone, so I can add in the new one that it's asking for. Okay, so I have my text record and my CNAME record, so it should be happy with that. If we click on Verify Domain, so that's checking it live against the internet, and that's gone through. Again, if you're not using Cloudflare, this may take a little longer, but each time you click on that domain name, domain button, it will recheck whether the records are there, whether it can see them live or not. And once it's in blue, then you should be good to go. Click on Confirm. So what that should have done is change the URL there. So if you look in the bottom left of the screen, that's now pointing at demo.squizzy.com. So the only fly in the ointment here is to whether the cache will have updated. So if I click on this, so that's pointing at demo backend because the cache is still pointing in the wrong place. Kill that for a second. So if I come back and open another tab and paste in a nifty little Chrome URL and do a clear host cache, that should clear out the offending entries in the browser cache. which is Chrome netinternals/DNS, and then try demo.squizzy.com again. That should be our new live site. No watermark and running on our live DNS. I should still have demo.backend. Just refresh that, running on a separate URL. So just to prove that's doing what it should be doing, if I change something visible, if I go into the pages, going to home, Elementor, not the fastest back-end framework, but if I go in and change something obvious, so if we try and pull up something near the top, make it fairly obvious and save that. Okay, so if I go back into the MakeMeStatic plugin, as that was effectively an inline change on one page, if I just do an update on that, that's effectively a fast scan that doesn't scan all the pages, just the pages I've edited. So if a page is just changed for typos or updated inline without any references to other pages, then that's a very fast process. So I've gone through already, merge, clean up, idle. That's deploying. So if we look now and do reload, this is a test. So just updating a page for typos, 21 seconds. So we now have two live URLs. We have demo-backend.squizzy.com, which is our WordPress instance, and demo.squizzy.com, which is our live URL that's now pointing to the static version of the site. If we have a look at the green button on the right here, the web stats, these should allow me live. If I go to a different screen and just bring up demo.squizzy.com, if you keep an eye on total requests, that should change as the site reloads. Okay, 42. If I pick on a different page, reload that, 56. So that's changing in real time pretty much as I scan between pages. So just to get a comparison of how the WordPress instance compares to the static pages, if I bring up a shell session and run autocannon against demo backend, we can get a feel for how many requests per second the server can cope with. So it's a fast server, it's 12 cores, 32 gigs of RAM on a 1 gig internet connection, and it's coming back with 21 requests per second, which is not bad for a WordPress site. If I fire that against demo.squizzy.com, we should see those requests registering against the web stats here in fairly real time. So we'll give that a go. 534, 3000, 5700. So these are not hits, these are actual page requests, and that's come back with 768 pages per second versus 21. So that's the comparison between static pages and dynamic delivery. It's worth bearing in mind here this machine only has a 1 gigabit connection, and we're getting an average transfer rate of 98 megabytes per second. So in terms of page requests, we're not far off wire speed, so it may well be a good bit quicker. That's just as fast as I can test it. If you'd like any more information, please head over to MakeMeStatic.com. Thanks for watching.